You're watching ChillyBoy Productions. I'm Larry ChillyBoy Chillson, and this is my review for Oh Canada. Now, before we get into this review, make sure to go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so that you can chill with me on each and every one of my latest videos. Oh Canada is a 2024 drama directed and adapted by Paul Schrader, based on the novel Foregone, authored by Russell Banks. Oh Canada is a film about a famed Canadian documentary filmmaker who gives an interview to one of his previous students to tell the whole truth about his life. The interview soon turns into a confession filmed right in front of his wife. The film stars Richard Gere, Uma Thurman, and Jacob Elordi. So Paul Schrader is a little bit hit or miss. A lot more hits earlier in his career, obviously, particularly as a writer. And recently, it's been a bit dodgy. He takes risks, which I always appreciate. However, the actual films themselves, not always my cup of tea. However, this all-star cast, Richard Gere, Uma Thurman, and Jacob Elordi, certainly drew me into the theater to check this out as a special presentation at the 2024 Denver Film Festival. And ultimately, Oh Canada left me saying, oh goodness, because this was a bit of a slog to get through. Hmm. But let's go ahead and kick things off with the positives first. Well, the biggest positive is certainly the acting performances. Richard Gere at the center of this film really holds things together with a fantastic leading performance here. One of the best performances, possibly of his entire career. There's so much to how he has to portray, particularly the ill, older version of his character, Leo. Also, the makeup department does a fantastic job at a believable makeup on Richard Gere, but his performance shines through that all to really give us something special. Uma Thurman also is fantastic in the role. She's not given quite as much to do, but in those small moments she's given to shine, she takes them. And then Jacob Elordi once more gives us a fabulous performance. And I'm just going to have to come out and say it. The other big positive for me, the highlights, the most exciting moment of the film was Jacob Elordi in a jockstrap. But unfortunately, even that positive comes with a negative because while I loved to see it, the couple of times Jacob sheds his clothes, we're in this weird, kind of muddled black and white at weird angles and weird distances. The lighting's all wrong. So I couldn't even fully embrace and enjoy the Jacob Elordi thirst of O Canada. And I also do think there's an interesting story here. The idea of revisiting your life and kind of coming clean as you know you are nearing death's door. And this really reflective atmosphere of the film presents interesting ideas. However, that is going to go ahead and lead me into the negatives when it comes to O Canada, because the film is about this man who basically is airing out his regrets through documentary. As I said, it's about him confessing to the camera, but more so than that, confessing to his wife. However, we establish early and we establish often that Leo is an unreliable narrator, so you don't really know what's true, what's not true, and we're jumbling all over the place, jumping from one event to the next. We're changing events at times. We're even swapping out Jacob Elordi to Richard Gere within the same scene. It's a whirlwind, if you will, which kind of adds to the whole idea going on in his mind. I understand it's a stylistic choice. However, it meant we never got to know Leo. Not really. We got to see some of his actions and some of what he did in his life, some of the regrets that he is very clearly burdened with as his life comes to an end. However, we don't really know him as a person. We don't really know what any of this did to him as a person, what it meant to him as a person, because when we get the glimpses later in his life, there's not any sort of processing going on. Even in this interview, there's not any processing happening. So it's just these jumbled events laid onto the film screen, and that's it. And of course, that doesn't even get us into any of the other characters, including Uma Thurman, who plays his current day wife. We don't know anything about her, really. We don't get to know any of these other people. We don't get to know any of these ideas of life. The film clocks in at an hour 35, so a pretty short film overall, but my goodness, it was a slog. I felt like I was sitting in that movie theater for dang near 2.5 hours by the end of it. I was like, can we move this along? What is happening? We even revisit some moments in this short time frame. And I think it drags so badly because that format, first of all, just sends you in circles. We're just spinning in circles, never feeling like we're getting anywhere really of substance. And we don't know the characters. There's no great connection to these characters. Really, you only kind of are connected to Richard Gere's version of Leo, the older version, who is very ill, because you hate to see somebody sick and recounting regretful moments. But most of that hinges on Gere's performance itself and not really any of the context. The cinematography also kind of felt gimmicky. It felt almost without purpose. If I enjoyed this film more, I would like to go back and explore the use of black and white versus color in the flashbacks when it's Jacob Elordi as Leo. And maybe that has much more of a correlation between what was fiction and what was fuzzy versus what was concrete in his memory. But as it was, it felt pretty gimmicky just watching it through the first time. And honestly, the movie hadn't gripped me enough to really care. Sorry. And honestly, to compound all of this, while I say it's a slog to get through 135 minutes, and while I say it's a slog to get through an hour and a half of the film we were presented, I'm also like, this is adapted from a novel. How did you fit an entire novel down into an hour 35? So really, we're just getting like the highlights and they're just thrown in there without any proper sense of momentum, of placement, of purpose. Honestly, I felt like we just had to get the greatest hits in one way or another. So let's do this roundabout type of jumbled storytelling. So overall, Oh Canada brings some interesting topics and gives us some nice enough Jacob Elordi thirst moments. But outside of that, it was really a struggle for me to sit through this. Honestly, this is certainly the biggest disappointment I've had at the 2024 Denver Film Festival. The storytelling device just turned a story that could be interesting into a tedious slog to get to the end of. So if you're a fan of Jacob Elordi like I am, wait for streaming. And when I say that, I mean basically wait until it's for free on Netflix or somewhere else, or just look for the screen grabs, huh? Otherwise, maybe big fans of Paul Schrader will get more out of this. However, he's on a streak for me, and it's not a good one. And Oh Canada really is just that cherry on top of this current run of films he's produced. But if you've been loving his output recently, give Oh Canada a chance. You might like this a lot more than I did. So that was my review for Oh Canada. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, go ahead, click that like button down below and subscribe to the channel so that you are always up to date on all of my latest videos. And make sure to join in on the discussion. Are you excited to see Oh Canada? Let me know all of your thoughts either in the comment section down below or you can hit me up on Twitter. I love you all so much for your continued support. Mwah! Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.